Winston Churchill seems to have had a resurgence in popularity recently with The Crown, The Darkest Hour, and even Dunkirk to some degree. Churchill famously once said this about the start of Britain's involvement in World War II. "This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning." So it may be said for Palm Sunday and this point in the start of Holy Week. We have begun today's worship in a festive way, entering the church with the palm branches and the shouts of Hosanna. We are riding on Jesus' coattails, marching to Zion, that is, Jerusalem, with no sign of disaster ahead of us. But that is exactly what happens to us as soon as this liturgy really begins, bringing Jesus into that great city. We come to this Passion Gospel, and suddenly all seems lost. The tone has shifted dramatically to one of deep sadness. Palm Sunday is a day of juxtaposition, and it sets the tone for the whole week ahead. We go through this yin and yang of the triumphal entry and the Passion play as if we are replaying an event over and over and over on our DVR, hoping for a different outcome. But the outcome is always the same. We become participants. We stand in the crowds shouting Hosanna, and then moments later, we are silent as we let Jesus be taken away. We are like Peter, denying even knowing Jesus. And then finally, tragically, we are in the crowds shouting to crucify him. Palm Sunday is so powerful because it places us in the play, in the drama, as characters, so that we can experience the trauma of feeling complicit in this wrongful death. Yesterday, it was other wrongful deaths, 17 of them to be precise, that caused the March for Our Lives in countless cities across the nation, including Chicago and including Frankfurt, just down the street. Many of us attended, spurred by the leadership of teenagers and young persons across America who simply wanted to be safe in school again. Downtown, Bishop Lee gathered Episcopalians and throngs of clergy, all wearing our collars, reminding us all that the marches were actually the start of Palm Sunday, in the bishop's words. It's as if the day was just starting simply a few hours earlier than normal. Only this time, it was children doing the leading, overthrowing the tables in the temples. Now, I don't know what I was expecting when I went to the march yesterday, but I, like so many others, received something truly inspiring. Dozens of teens stood at microphones and attested and protested. They read poetry they had written for the occasion. One young man rapped, spinning his own kind of poetry. They didn't just talk about guns and gun control. They reached broader and deeper. They spoke of unity, of empathy. They talked about their fears as children who have seen family and friends gunned down. Some spoke about domestic abuse. Young women, especially one 7th grade young woman, reminded everyone gathered that the oppression of females is still a colossal problem. They cast their nets wider than legislation and policy. They made people like me feel at once empowered and inspired, but also a bit ashamed that my generation has grown old and done nothing about these issues. Our children have grown up a little faster than we would have liked recently, but they proved they are ready for the task. And in that sense, in the wake of wrongful deaths and injustices, I, like so many others, saw hope. The pain that our children and their parents and so many of us have felt recently is not going to end in hollow misery. It will manifest a new order led by our youngest. And I was reminded that hope is a theme of Holy Week, and how even in these dark moments like the Passion we just read, and more to come this week, the reason we keep returning to these stories and these moments is precisely because it does end the same way each time. It ends with a wrongful death, but a death not in vain. A death that will inspire countless others to change the world for the better. A death that will wind up leaving us with hope. And so on this day, we will feel that juxtaposition of glory and God through Christ, but also the shame of letting his wrongful death proceed. And yet, the light promises to never be fully eclipsed, not even in our darkest hour. This is no ending by any stretch of the imagination, just the beginning.